Hey everyone, it's Tiqqle, and in today's video we're going over the enhanced Shaman changes. I haven't made a video quite yet, but we are working on a lot of stuff. I put out an enhanced scrim video. I've done working on an LE PvP video from the Shadowlands beta / the pre-patch. Pre-patch is out on PTR. You can test all of these changes there as well, but I am on the beta right now. This is my Vulpira. We'll be going over the enhanced changes they just recently made. What do I think about them? The different builds, and definitely, guys, come by the stream every day, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, twitch.tv/Tiqqle. This shameless plug. Sub to the channel if you love me. About 85% of you aren't subbed. I'd really appreciate it. We're going for 20k subs before Shadowlands. But let's go ahead and let's go into the changes. All right, I'll put the video for elemental changes down below. It was pretty exciting. Enhanced Shaman got a few changes, so let's go over those. We're happy with the last big round of changes for enhancement in Shaman a few weeks ago. I'll put that video down below too. But have had a few talents aren't working out. Similar to Elemental, Totem Mastery has been replaced, and Cycle of the Elements talent has also been replaced on the 35th row. And I'll show you what they've been replaced by. We'll go over them as well. But new is Ice Strike, and then new is Elemental Assault Passive. We do like these. Let's go ahead. Those are the two new changes for enhancement. What? Was it a big deal? Well, did it make a difference? It did, actually. It made quite a difference, mostly because there's a lot of synergy with these new abilities. Let's go over them first. Number 1, Ice Strike. Strike your target with an icy blade, dealing 350 frost damage, and snaring them by 50% for 6 seconds. Yes, this is also a slow, as well as your frost shock, so you're going to be able to chain slow people pretty well. The one thing I'll note here is it is melee range. Your frost shock is at range, right? I can frost shock that target, but I can't ice strike them. You have to be melee range, which is a little sad, but it is what it is. The other effect is successful ice strikes reset the cooldown on your flame shock and your frost shock spells. Oh, that's kind of neat. I can multi-dot or I can multi-frost shock. Actually, it's bigger than that. Why? Because down here you have these two abilities, Hailstorm and Fire Nova. These two abilities will, they work with either Flame Shock, or they work with Frost Shock. Let's start with Fire Nova. What does this mean? What does this ability mean? This means if I go ahead and put a Flame Shock on here, let's say I'm like, doing my thing. I'm going to go ahead and put my Flame Shock over here. Then I can refresh with Ice Strike, Flame Shock this target, Fire Nova, all three of them. This allows me to spread my Flame Shocks more than I have been able to before. I think 5 is probably top, actually. So you get those 3, refresh, and then you can Fire Nova. 4. You can get probably 5. I used it already, but there's my 5th one. Just as that one's ending, I could do 5 like that would be the top I could do. And I could spread Fire Nova to a lot of targets. Fire Nova to me is going to be a PvE ability. In PvP, I don't really see the damage isn't that great, but it says it does up to 6 targets. So if you can spread it and pop it, you're getting 6 pops of that certain fire damage, 134 on the screen. So that's pretty cool. Now the other thing, and almost more impactful for PvP, but it's also insane for PvE as well, is this, Hailstorm. While Firestorm is spreading them and then popping them all, Hailstorm is about getting out huge bursts. Now, Hailstorm, maybe you don't know what this is. Hailstorm, each stack of Maelstrom weapon consumed increases the damage of your next Frost Shock by 35% and causes your next Frost Shock to hit 1 additional target per Maelstrom weapon stack consumed. A lot of words. I'll break it down for you. Basically what it means is when I get my Maelstrom stacks going, which is this is increasing my damage or my healing of my next spell, I get that up. You can stack it up to 10, which is awesome. It's not just capped at 5, which we do like very much. Let's go ahead and hopefully we keep that proccing. Let's go. 9, almost to 10. What this means is that if I use a Maelstrom weapon consuming ability, Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, Healing Surge, any of those that are glowing, it will buff my Frost Shock by a ton. So the play is actually to do this. You want to buff your Flame Shock a ton, right? But you want to do that as many times as you can. So what you're going to see here is I have 10 stacks. That means I can use 2 casts. That means I can get 2 procs of Hailstorm. So thankfully I have Ice Strike. Ice Strike instantly resets the cooldown of Frost Shock, which normally has a 5-second cooldown, which means I can do something that looks a little bit like this. I'll go ahead. I'll use, let's just say we're going to AoE, right? We're going to use Chain Lightning. Now I got the buff, increases damage by 175. I Frost Shocks all the enemies around me. I use Ice Strike, Lightning Bolt, and then I use Frost Shock again, hitting all the targets as well. That's going to be spreading this. So again, I use it again. Hailstorm's up. I can Frost Shock, hits all the targets in front of me. So consuming those stacks of Maelstrom weapon is really important for using Hailstorm. It's how it works. But with Ice Strike, you can get 2 Frost Shocks back to back that are buffed. And truthfully, that's a lot of damage. In PvP, I will be making actually I already did an enhanced Scrim video where I was doing Scrim videos and I was testing out different builds. What I found was that using Hailstorm, using Frost Shock, I'm able to do a lot of pressure to a lot of targets. If you remember back in the day, well, it's actually still here, Ride the Lightning. Ride the Lightning has Forked Lightning component in there, does a lot of kind of padding damage. Hailstorm's going to do a lot of padding damage, except this was my top damage. My Frost Shocks were doing overall top damage because it's hitting multiple targets for a huge buff amount. So it is pretty great. It means maybe I should go Sky Fury. You never know if I crit. So that's the burst here, which is actually pretty nice because the AoE rotation for Enhance is now it's way different. In BFA, it was Crash Lightning, Storm Strike, Cleave people, right? That was like it, with Sunders maybe and stuff like that. But now what I can do, if I'll try to do this right, is I can do a lot of different things. Number one, my Chain Lightning. When I use Chain Lightning on more than one target, it busts my Crash Lightning by up to 60%. So what you'll see here is my rotation, and I'll try to take it a little bit slow. You won't be able to see the value of Ice Strike if I go slow, but just keep that in mind. Let's say we're gonna pull a huge pack, right? And I want to get up to my max burst AoE. Different than using Flame Nova, or Fire Nova. This is taking a hot minute. All right, so there we go. We're at 10. If I wanted to AoE, the best AoE I could probably do is consuming Chain Lightning. I can then Frost Shock, and that will do AoE damage. And then I also have the buffed Crash Lightning. And I do that. I use my my Storm Strikes. And then I can Chain Lightning again, Frost Shock, Crash Lightning. And then I can cleave with my Storm Strike and my Fire Lava Lash. And then I can use another Chain Lightning, Frost Shock. And then I can cleave again. And again, when I cleave targets with Crash Lightning, not only does it allow my Storm Strike to cleave, it actually increases the damage of Storm Strike depending on the target's hit. Chain Lightning, Frost Shock, Crash Lightning, I can cleave. If I want to do some more AoE faster, or let's say I have my Wolves running, I can do a little bit faster. So I can use Chain Lightning, Frost Shock, cleave. We have a lot of procs. We're going to use Ice Strike, Frost. I should use Chain Lightning first, then Frost Shock. But you get the point. So this actually rotation is actually going to be pretty cool. So now I'm going to I can't use Crash yet, so I'll use some other buttons. Right? I use Crash, Chain Lightning, Frost Shock, cleave. To be honest, I don't know if Ice Strike's really needed in the PvE rotation, but in PvP it's nice because I can get those two uses of the buffed Frost Shock pretty quick, and that's actually pretty nice burst. So that's how this is working with the other talents right now. Otherwise, this actually does a decent amount of damage. If we look at my Frost Shock does 244 damage, while Ice Strike does 350. Damage numbers aren't tuned, I know, but still. But anyway, so that's a nice ability. I do like it a lot. I've been using it in PvP quite a bit. Now, the other ability that they added is Elemental Assault. Storm Strike damage is increased by 15%. Storm Strike now generates 1 stack of Maelstrom weapon. This is kind of nice for a few reasons why. I just showed you the AoE rotation using Hailstorm, very strong. Now this is one, maybe you get a little bit more uptime. Maybe you're going to expect to use more Storm Strikes. Maybe this is your physical Storm Strike build, whatever it is, right? In PvP, I've been taking this anytime I think I'm going to have uptime on a target, I'm going to be able to Storm Strike that target a ton, right? Without being blurred or without being chasing a Frost Mage or anything like that. So this is one that is actually kind of nice because your procced damage for Enhancement Shaman is no longer buffed, actually. Oh, wait. Oh, no, they changed it. It actually is buffed. My bad. This was actually originally not buffed. Your Stormbringer wasn't buffed, but I think they did actually do a hot fix for that. Yeah, that's fine. So anyway, so having the Storm Strike damage increased by 50% is nice, right? Because everyone loves the Storm Strikes. But the other thing here is about the now generates 1 stack of Maelstrom weapon. So what you can see here, it's actually hard for me to test this out. Okay, but I have to hit it without using an auto attack. So I'm going to melee with Storm Strike, and you're going to see my stack go up by 1. Okay, I got 1 stack. Seems cool. It actually is a little bit more than that. Someone had pointed out to me that if I Crash Lightning first, right, and then I Storm Strike, it gives you 2 stacks. So all the targets that you cleave will give you additional stacks. Why does that happen? Well, again, Crash Lightning, when you use it, it makes your Storm Strike and your Lava Lash just hit everything in front of you. So because of that, every target you hit with Storm Strike is going to give you a stack of Maelstrom. That means up to, I think, is the max what is the max? Let's read it, because they have changed everything. Hitting 2 or more enhances your weapon. All targets in front of you. What? We need to test. We'll test this on stream, so definitely come by and remind me to test this, because I've been testing everything you guys have been asking for as fast as I can. But yeah, so all targets. So that means if I hit 10 targets with Storm Strike, I get 10 stacks of Maelstrom weapon. What? That's insane. All of these abilities are pretty useful for AoEing, and especially in PvE. It's just hard to tell which one's going to be the rock star. Right now, a Hailstorm is doing the most damage for sure. But this one, man, cleaving all those targets. Imagine in PvP for a second, you're going against a DK. You Crash Lightning Storm Strike. You get, what, 8 stacks of Maelstrom weapon? You can heal. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So I do like this one. It is kind of specific. If it didn't have that Maelstrom component and it didn't have the cleave buffing of the Maelstrom weapon, I would say it wouldn't be that good. But because it's there, it makes it worthwhile, because generating Maelstrom weapon is going to be huge for Enhanced Shaman. Huge. Now, the other thing I wanted to point out, those are the changes, and I think it does fill in the rotation kind of nice. Ice Strike does feel pretty good, especially in PvP when you maybe don't have complete uptime. It means you're not getting the Storm Strike procs, maybe you're not getting as many Maelstrom weapon stacks, so you're not getting as much instant casts or casts off, right? It's a nice filler. It's also a nice reset, because Frost Shock is your filler damage ability, and it actually does pretty decent damage, relatively speaking. It does double, it does 50% more than Lightning Bolt. So that's good to know. The other thing I want to point out to everybody is that another thing that I found out that I want to share is that the good old Windfury Totem. Windfury Totem actually does affect the caster. I've been saying it hasn't, but it actually does. So what you'll see is, I'll prove it right now to you. A second. There's the Windfury proc. I don't have a single buff on, and you saw me get the Windfury proc, which they did do an animation change, which we'll talk about in a second. But that was it. You saw the Windfury proc. It's 10% chance. There it is. I don't have my weapon abuse, so that was just from the totem. So the totem does buff me, which we do appreciate. Now, what it does do is, in the damage log, it doesn't say Windfury attack. It just says a melee, which I think is a good thing. I think that's a good thing. Because it'll be a little bit different than the Windfury procs that you're just going to be getting from your Windfury weapon. The other thing is, this is how it's going to look for other people. Their melees, it'll just look like melees. It won't be Windfury attacks, right? So now if I buff myself up here, I'm going to go Super Saiyan on this target dummy, Fox Super Saiyan. But what you're going to be able to see is the new animation that Blizzard has given the Enhanced Shaman for Windfury. We have an entire video. I'll put it down in the comments below. We went over the animation back in Classic. We went over the animation probably in other XPACs. I don't even remember. But it was the bee's knees. Like, in Windfury animation made the class look awesome. I'm on a Volpura right now, so the animation's a little bit smaller, but to be honest with you, it looks good. It's actually relatively big, and to be honest, this is the one change that I really wanted to see Blizzard make. Now, chat has also told me from the stream, they've said, hey, dude, it needs to be bigger. Like, it needs to be more distinct. Sure, Blizzard, if you're watching, maybe you watched our other video, maybe that's one of the reasons that you changed it. If you can make it be less transparent and a little bit slower maybe, then maybe it would be good. Now, I actually understand why they might make it so quick. That's why you're seeing it pop up and then go away. If you think about it, if you were to get a Windfury proc and then the animation happens and then get another Windfury proc, it would clip the animations. That would be kind of sloppy looking. So I actually understand why Blizzard has made it so fast, because we do auto attack very quickly, right? So, especially with the amount of haste we're going to get. There it is, right? So they probably do it in a global. Their probably animation time is 1.5 seconds so that it looks smooth, so that it has time to go back to rest. That's just my thought, but I think it overall does look pretty nice. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's like, I don't want to say it's the best we could get, but it's definitely something new. A lot of people said, hey, you know what, it's not what Classic was. Dude, you know what? We might have to move on from that, boys. So the only other thing I'll say is that people are still a little unsatisfied with the fact that the damage is low, and they're not wrong. The Windfury procs, they're pretty low, 85 compared to just a melee hit. Windfury used to be something that was a very powerful strike, right? When you got a Windfury proc, you really felt it. There are a few suggestions people have had, and I actually really like them, about how Blizzard could make this a little bit more impactful. One option is make it proc less often. So overall, maybe equal the same amount of damage, but when it happens, it actually feels really nice. So that it actually feels like you're chunking a little bit, because that was the Enhanced Shaman that a lot of people liked. And I don't want to look back in time all the time. I don't think that's I don't think that's great. I don't want to be that guy. But I think that when Windfury procs, it should be terrifying. or at least a little, you feel it, right? Like when you get the animation reset back in Classic, or you see this animation, you're like, dude, whoa, like that's awesome, right? And the animations are already so cool, even on a Vulpera, that I think that would just be so cool if they can make it even maybe proc a little bit less. Like, look, you're seeing it proc back to back to back to back. Make it proc 10, 50, make it proc 20% less, but when it procs, all of a sudden we get all that damage kind of charged up. It just kind of like, plows them, as the kids say. So with that being said, guys, that's it. I want to know what you guys think. Let me know these changes, how you feel about it. I have a PvP video of Enhance in the beta / pre-patch. I have this whole review about Elemental Shaman as well. But I want to thank Blizzard for making the changes they have. I personally think we all know that Shaman either needs one of two changes to make it in PvP. They either need to have they need a defensive buff in their PvP talents. I personally think there are multiple of these that need to be reworked. We'll do a different video on that. But PvP still needs to be worked on for their defensives. Or Blizzard can make us such a glass cannon, they leave the defensives as a wet noodle. But then we have to be so terrifying. And I don't see that either. I don't see that happening. So I'd rather go with the defensive option. But with that being said, guys, I want to thank you guys so much again. Please hit that sub button, and we'll see you on stream, twitch.tv/Tiqqle this every day, 9 p.m. And don't forget, you guys are going to be voting on which race my Shaman is going to be for Shadowlands. I'm going to be changing from Orc to whatever you guys vote this Friday. So come on by the stream, and we'll see you then. Do not turn me into a panda again. And we'll see you later, guys. Take care. Bye now.